Hello and welcome back to the Weekend Spread, the Schooner Pod's weekly college football podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Howard, and with me today, we've got Ty Lee, we got Boaton Blake, and unfortunately, our guest, John Mateer, is unable to join us. He had to drop out due to some reason. So Jameson Maxwell back on the podcast. Welcome in, Jameson. Welcome in, boys. We are going to do something similar to what we did last week, where we're going to rank the top 10 in the SEC, just like we did top 10 in the Big 12. And look, this is a conference that I feel like a lot of people have said is wide open. And I tend to agree. And after looking at all of y'all's results, I think y'all tend to agree in a way. The conference last year was a bit crazy. I feel like looking at last year's standings really indicates that. For example, I don't remember Missouri being number 4 in the conference. That's a little nuts. And that's the thing. It's a really deep league, and I think it's going to be really intriguing. What do you think, Jameson?
Yeah, and just going through the schedule for this year, like there were a lot of games where I just looked down. It's like, you know what? How many of these games last year would have been a touchdown spread, and how many of these games this year are going to be like a field goal spread? You can tell that it's going to be a lot more competitive, a lot more fun. And even though like the league is wide open, I don't think it's going to be like, oh, there's not enough talent in the SEC this year. There's not going to be good games this year. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Like,
yeah, doing its best Big 12 impersonation. I actually think these teams are pretty close together. When I was going through it, and when I was just changing just one or two games here or there, it had huge standings impacts in the end. That when I look at it, probably my 5 through 8 all have the same record and are just sorted out via tiebreakers. I think these teams are going to be very close. I think some of the powers that we saw do a little bit worse last year with LSU, Alabama, they're kind of the more veteran returning teams, whereas some of the teams at the top that we saw last year lost a whole bunch. So I think it creates this good mix that I would put money on about 5 or 6 teams that could possibly win this thing, and even more to potentially make Atlanta. So I'm very excited for this. This one's gonna be heated. This one's gonna be heated
for sure. Ty, what do you have to say about the state of the SEC?
A conference being wide open is amazing, especially when you have. I should have thought about this and had it pulled up, but the blue chip ratio, which is 50% or more of your starters being 4 or 5 stars. In the SEC is insane. I'm not saying that just to hype it up, but it's when you get a conference like this and it is relatively wide open, certainly more wide open than the SEC has been in, I can't even think of how long. I think as long as I've actually been paying attention to college football, which started around 2007. Obviously, there's been some years in there where it's been, who will or won't, but it's been like 2 teams. That's not the case this year. There are some great teams at the top, but anything can happen. There's a lot of chaos that can occur. And it's very, very exciting to see players of this level. Obviously, we love college football because it's sloppy and high scoring and everything else, but it's really cool to see players of this level sort of spread out across the league because it's going to keep you on the edge of your seats, hopefully, at least into November.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's going to be truly just an incredibly exciting, an exciting year for the league. I think the parity is through the roof, and we'll kind of talk about the major players as we go through it. But I think something special about the league is even the folks down low, like the Vanderbilts, or unfortunately last year in OU's case, OU can really sneak up and bite you. So it's really deep, really exciting, and like y'all said, this is going to be a hotly contested podcast. So without further ado, let's start this thing off. And Ty, in the pre-show, we're all talking backstage, and right before I hit play on the intro music, you said, "I swear to God, if somebody puts Missouri in their top 10, I'm going to leave the podcast." Yeah. I'm sorry, Ty. Thanks for coming.
Whoa!
Thanks for coming, Ty. I have Missouri at 10. I'm the only one with Missouri at 10. I agonized over who to put at 10. This was I'm not happy about this. Like, make no mistake about it. I am not happy that Missouri is 10. But to me, it boiled down to this. That cakewalk of a schedule last year, that when you look at those standings and Missouri ended up 4th, that was not a fourth level SEC team, but they got a absolute gift of a schedule that just flipped this year. And not only did it flip, but the two hardest games on that schedule, Alabama and Texas A&M, are now coming to Columbia, Missouri. I don't know if that makes any difference. I think Missouri is significantly worse this year than they were last year. But I feel like just in general, their feistiness, their unwillingness to just disappear from the map, I think they do enough this season to end up 10th. That's not saying much. I really don't think it is. I just feel like some of the other teams that have dips have more unfortunate schedules. And Missouri, Missouri just has a bit of a cakewalk schedule. I think they're benefited by that. I think they do enough to hang around and finish 10th here.
I think if I was on the betting spread podcast, I would have picked the Missouri under on 7.5 quickly. I have them at 6 wins this year whenever I go through. I think that their only 2 wins in the SEC will be one of either the at Auburn and at Arkansas and then the Mississippi State game. I don't believe in this team. I mean, I get it. Is it easier than others' schedules? Yeah, but I just don't see what they have from last year coming into this year. They lost when they're one of their best players at running back. Do you think Bo Perbula is going to be much? It's not going to be much of a change from like Drew Pine. I'm not worried about this Missouri team.
Yep, I'm kind of with Jameson. The lost too much on offense for them to be any good. I really only see them winning probably 2 SEC games. Like they get gifted at the end, getting that Arkansas game when probably Arkansas has quit. But it's concerning that there's still a QB battle this late into the the season's about to start, and Bo Perbula has still not run away with the job yet, and that worries me. And he is a guy that I didn't really like at Penn State all too much. Obviously very gifted athlete, but not a polished thrower. So Bobby keeps on talking about the cakewalkness of the schedule. I think all these SEC schedules are going to be hard. Sure, they get some of the easier ones with your Mississippi State, your Vanderbilts, your Arkansas, but you're still.
But is at Vanderbilt going to be that easy of a game this year?
I know.
You've got Diego Pavia, who's like an extreme veteran at this point. That going on the road playing a guy like that's not going to be an easy game. Like they could very very well lose that. And I think even if they win, that will put them at 7. If they lose to either Arkansas or Auburn on the road.
I just see no ceiling with this team. I see no ceiling.
It's more of a vote of no confidence in a couple other teams, honestly. And I just kind of rode with the schedule here. I'm not super big on Missouri. They're just kind of who tumbled out on this end. It's not, overly confident in the Tigers. I think they just find a weird ass way to scrap to 10. That's my thing. I'm not, over here doing cartwheels for Drinkowitz and the crew. Shout out to Lord King Big Nuts once again, coming in with a donate. Put it down on Moneyline with tier. I love it. Love it. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated.
I can do that. I'm the only one here that can do it legally, correct?
I think so. Yeah.
Actually, honestly, I can't do it on a John Mateer prop bet. Unfortunately, I cannot gamble on young athletes.
I got full access down here.
Oh, you got full access, including player bets in Arizona?
I can go to a physical sports book and do it.
Yeah.
They restrict us from
shout out to Lord King. He is in fact the king. I will notice, Lord King, I did notice that you held your donation until we started talking negatively about Mizzou. He is in fact a ball knower, so we do appreciate that.
They can't watch the pod today driving up the 53-footer in the mountains of Colorado. He'll watch when he gets home. Boomer sooner. So, all right. Yeah, much appreciated. Much appreciated, man. Genuinely awesome. I think that's enough Missouri talk. Let's move on.
Seat right now.
Jameson, who do you have in your number 10?
This was a tie, but the breaker ended up being for Auburn at 10.
So Jameson has Auburn at 10. Blake has Auburn at 9. Ty and I do not have the Tigers on the our top 10 at all. So you're feeling pretty positive about Jackson Arnold and the boys.
Is it pretty positive? I mean, and whenever it came down to it, I still had them 3-5 in SEC play. So is it really that positive? They still hit their under. And I think when it comes down to it, Auburn's got still a decent defense. They got one of the better defensive ends in the country in Keldrick Falk. And I think they've got a really solid 1-2 punch at wide receiver that Jackson Arnold didn't have last year. I understand that the things about Jackson Arnold in preseason last year coming out this year, and maybe he just might not have it. But whenever you have Cam Coleman as wide receiver on one side and then Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech on the other side, that is something that Jackson Arnold didn't even sniff at Oklahoma. And I believe Cam Coleman's a type of dude that I think next year, whenever it comes NFL draft time, that guy could be a first-round draft pick. That's how special of a wide receiver I think he is. And I think there's enough talent on this Auburn team to at least squeeze out a couple wins in SEC play to get them 3 wins and get into the 10 spot.
Yep, this team is just stacked from a talent perspective that I think I just have to see him in the top 10 just because of that. But there is a lot of concerns. Like, I'm not as high, or like, I guess as a podcast, we're not high on him, but some people do like him because, like, if Jackson Arnold lives up to the potential, then they could be hitting a new kind of a new ceiling. But that guy does not scream confidence to me. I have them, I believe, at 4-4 in Big 12 play. I think they get some of the, or Big 10, sorry,
SEC.
SEC play.
Oh, Lord. Look, I'm just going to spoil the podcast. This is not going to do us a lot of favors with 1 SEC fans and 2 OU fans. So calling us the Big 10 or the conference, the Big 10 or Big 12, already off to a rocking start. Before
this is having a very Big 12 feel right now. Like, we had Missouri to start, just this chaos. I just don't see. I'm curious who y'all have above it, because I think Auburn's schedule is so clear cut of who they're going to beat that it kind of bakes in 3 to 4 wins that automatically puts them in the top 10. Like, that's
so here's my thing with their schedule is it's so brutally front loaded that I could see a world where you lose on the road, like at McLean Stadium in Baylor, you lose to OU and Norman, lose at Kyle Field against Texas A&M, and then you lose to Auburn.
And then thank God they get an easy one versus Missouri to get them backtrack.
But that's what I'm saying. But that's what I'm saying is if you're 2-4, after your first 6 games in the middle of October, that's a team that can quit. And we know that sometimes teams can completely, capsize and quit and give up. And I don't know what Baylor or Auburn to me feels like a team that if they hit that, absolute rock bottom rut, if things break wrong, I see them just rolling over and giving up. I think
that's a fair argument.
And just given the bad reports I've heard, we've all read and heard, from the boards and all that, they're just board talk. You never know, but they were right last year about Jackson Arnold. So I'm just saying, I'm not backing Auburn. I'm not backing Freeze. All of this stuff. I just feel like this is, just a hellish start for them, and it can snowball. And that's why I have them out of my top 10.
You guys are forgetting the magic of the SEC. And I'm saying this in support of Bobby. He's not forgetting this, but Blake and Jameson, you guys are forgetting the magic of the SEC. And that's the fact that you can have 1, maybe even 2 first-round draft picks and several other 4 and 5 stars on your starting offense and defense and still be like a 2-win team in the conference in the SEC. That is the magic of the SEC and the magic of Hugh Freeze mixed into one. And that's what we're about to see. We're about to see an Auburn team that, yes, it gets stinky, right? And it's my perspective, at least, is a little skewed based on doing the Big 12 pod last week, because that's just such a massive conference and the schedules, you can break it out. Yeah, it is true that I could see Auburn being, for me, they were 11th. So I guess really I'm not that far off you guys. And really maybe a bit of a bias pick for my 10th over Auburn. Not to spoil it, but yeah, you can have all of these assets, all of these tools, all of these athletes, and just not do anything. And for me, like I was texting you guys earlier in the week, Jackson Arnold, I just don't see it. Like the number one thing he needed at OU, I thought, was just quality coaching. The talent was there. It's just he got rattled in games like Tennessee, and you could see him sort of crumble, and he wasn't getting that like coaching and development. And look at Auburn's staff. I don't see, not to discredit anyone on Auburn's staff, but the resume isn't there. If they do it with Jackson Arnold, it'll be the first time they've really developed a quarterback that's a 5-star that has, the ceiling that Jackson Arnold conceivably has, which I think he could win a Heisman. But I just don't think it's happening there. And I think that you have a lot of tools that you're counting on working for you with this Auburn team. And I just don't think it's going to come together.
I mean, I feel like it's going to be intriguing to see what happens with Arnold. He seems like a guy who the measurables, the ball, the talent, throwing the football against air and all that stuff at scrimmages, or maybe not scrimmages, but the second it hits live football, he just doesn't have it. And I don't know. He needs to get more confidence, and that's obviously way easier said than done. Look, go ahead, Blake.
The game I'm most excited for in the SEC this year, by far, Auburn OU. I think that one will send one of these fan bases into an absolute tailspin, and I'm ready for it.
Blake, that would be a great segue. But Ty, who do you have at your number 10?
At my number 10, I had to do it. So everyone else.
No, you didn't.
Besides Bobby probably has him at 1, so not to spoil it, but everyone else probably had him unranked. No one believes in this team like I have believed in this team. Everyone has given up on this team. No one believes in the staff. No one believes in the players. People are spitting on their name, but I have the Oklahoma Sooners at number 10.
Wow.
So, okay. And this is where the podcast will peak. Ty and Blake both have OU at 10. Blake, by the way, has OU behind Auburn, which when I saw that, I think I almost had a blood vessel burst in my head.
It's not okay, Josh Pate. It's not a power rating. I have to go game by game and actually choose it. It's not who are the 10 best teams. It's where are they going to end up at the end of the year.
So
how many
Auburn, I think has a pretty tough schedule. Yeah. Like,
no, they have an easy stretch in the middle of it, Bobby, where they play Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. That's
Auburn has a much
right
easier schedule than
that. Much easier than OU.
Okay, well, and I also think Auburn's a significantly worse team than OU.
Yes, but y'all aren't playing any cupcakes, Bobby. That's the problem.
Play Missouri.
Are a better team. Y'all are a better team.
That's gonna age terribly, Bobby. Don't say that.
I don't care. No, we're gonna beat Missouri. We're gonna beat Missouri. In Norman? God no. I don't care what we faced off against Tennessee Twitter last year. I'm not afraid of Missouri
I'm
Twitter.
I'm not afraid of Missouri Twitter.
No. What? No. But that's my thing with Auburn. Okay, let's not make this an Auburn discussion. There are clearly two schools of thought for this. I have OU a little bit higher. I have OU at 5, by quite a bit higher. Jameson has them at 7. And look, there are a lot of national pundits who have OU pretty high. Phil Steele has them at 4 in the SEC. I believe Pick 6 Previews has OU either 5 or 6. I can't remember from off the top of my head. So 10 is a significantly lower number than a lot of pundits. And I understand on the surface this looks pretty bad as a primarily OU podcast to have 2 panelists with OU at 10. Welcome to the Scooter Pod, baby. Anyways,
this is the weekend spread, which is an offshoot of the Schooner Pod. And I've been through so many punishments on the weekend spread that have been caused by blindly picking OU.
This doesn't even do anything.
You guys
we don't even look back at this.
Tune into the Schooner Pod, and I will support OU blindly and implicitly. When it comes to Wednesdays, when it comes to the gambling pod, I have to do what I have to do to survive.
So,
but I will say, like you mentioned earlier, before you get into the explanation, like we talked about with Mizzou, right? I think this maybe even would have been pre-pod, but you kind of forget that they were even 4th in the SEC last year. And that's how this conference can sort of separate out when you get to November. You can have a team like I genuinely do not think that OU at 5 is absurd. I just won't believe it until I see it. Obviously, the Michigan game doesn't really matter. It kind of helps us conference-wise that we get to face an opponent like Michigan early on and kind of get our steel about us before we go into Red River and some of these other games that are absolutely winnable. We beat Bama last year. I just think going into Bama is tough. LSU, that's always tough. Texas is legitimately a coin flip. Like, if you flip Tennessee and you upset Texas or beat Texas, however you want to phrase that, OU at 5 is not a crazy result at all, as long as you take care of those Auburns and those Missouris and everything else. So yeah, I'm not trying to argue. Like I don't disagree with 5. I just think more than half of the time they end up around 10 for me.
Yeah, like I think the reason, like, this isn't just like a pure hater play. Like, the reason why OU ended up this low for me was the fact that although OU got significantly better this year, everybody else on their schedule did as well. Last year they played
Ole Miss.
I think Ole Miss is. I think Ole Miss
Missouri?
is going to be better. Missouri, no. But see, that's the problem, Bobby.
You
It's
think
like
Ole Miss is going to be better than they were last year?
I think they are.
Without
I
Dart.
love Austin Simmons. I love Austin Simmons. I like Simmons way more than Dart. He's going to be awesome. But OU are now going to be competitive. Like, they're going to look a lot better in games. They're going to be competing in games. They're not going to be getting blown out like they were last year. Like the South Carolina game, they were wholly uncompetitive. Like, there was times last year where I'm like, this OU football team isn't even a legitimate football team. They're not going to be that this year. Like, they're not going to be getting blown out in games. But their schedule is so much stronger than it was last year that I have question marks at quarterback with Mateer. How does he take the next step? Like, I think he will, but there's definitely question marks there. Your running back, Jaden Ott. I love Jaden Ott. The problem is he's injured all the time.
You're asking the wrong questions, Blake. Those are not the concerns.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, see, there's too many question marks with a schedule this hard for OU that I'm like, I have them winning, what was it, three conference games for sure? And then the rest are going to be kind of toss-ups. And so I had them losing most of the toss-ups just because I had to choose that. But yeah, like I think OU is going to be a really solid team. It's definitely going to be an improved one. But I think they finished 7-5 at the end of the year, which I think is like, isn't the win total 6.5, 7?
It's 7.5.
It's gone up from 6.5 to 7 to 7.5 and keeps on rising. So
yeah, that makes sense. A 7-5, like that means you did really poor in SEC play. That's around the Vegas number. I don't think it's like super crazy that when you put it into the schedule maker that like this is how it ends up. It's like you're losing all your games in confidence. That's the problem.
Where do you have Auburn? Do you have Auburn beating OU and Norman?
No, I have OU beating Auburn.
Okay.
I told you Auburn has 4 games where they're automatic winners. You keep on ignoring that.
I don't think anything's an automatic winner with Auburn.
I think where Blake's concerns, I think it's kind of a popular thing to name the big names in Jay Nott and Mateer. I think that if Jay Nott doesn't do well this year, I think if he does well, OU's ceiling goes higher. If he doesn't do anything, I don't think we lose a game if Jay Nott does bad, just because of the depth of this running back room. Javonte Barnes and Xavier Robinson. And then if Taylor Tatum wants to do something, sure, he's RB4, but who cares at this point? Like, we've got so much at the running back position. I'm not concerned about Ott. I think Mateer is a type of dude that with the way he can run the ball and the way that he has that attitude, I think he will make some plays. Where I'm concerned about from OU is offensive line and cornerback position. We still haven't figured out our starters on the offensive line from a position that really screwed us over last year. And cornerback, we're very hurt. But it seems like all in all, the cornerback room is doing fine with the 2 deep. And the defense as a whole, we lost 2 of the stars to the NFL, but as a whole, we look really damn good with probably the best defensive line in the SEC. And defensive lines win you games. And I think that's a reason that a lot of people are underestimating OU. I still have them at 7. Like, I have them at an 8 win right now. I don't have them up in the 4s, but this defensive line is nasty and deep, and it's going to give a lot of people a lot of problems and straight up win games for them.
Yeah, and that's why I have them a step above. Is I'm kind of surprised, shocker. I'm in the water, as Red Dirt Sport would say. I'm doing backstrokes. I'm swimming in here, just loving it. I personally think that Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer, I think they raised that offensive ceiling. I mean, obviously very high, but the floor is at a totally different level than what it was last year with Seth Luttrell and Jackson Arnold. It to me boils down to that offensive line. It is still very young, but at least it's not 0 returning starters like last year. So there is improvement. There is a massive injection of young talent, with Foje and Fasusi, who are projecting to probably play quite a bit. And that take that or leave that as a concern or not. But I think to me the offense, it's going to be. I think people forget just how bad it was last year, how pulseless it was.
It was
horrendous.
I didn't forget. Who
It was
forgot?
it was a disaster. And to me, it's like if you just have let's just say the Arbuckle offense just turns out to be pretty all right. If that defense can carry over, and if that defensive line is as good as we've heard, as we've seen, if it looks to be one of the best in the country, this team is going to flip some wins without a doubt with that complementary football. And to me, I have them at 9-3. I have them just on that edge of being an elite SEC team. I think that schedule is going to bite them in a couple spots. I think Alabama is like an auto loss. And then you have a couple really, really, really tough ones that, I think some combination of, for example, Texas, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU. I think you get 2 losses in there. I think OU splits those. I think that's I know that's a tall task. I think the Sooners find a way to get 9-3 done though, just given the stakes of everything. And given what I think relatively is, an SEC that, is still, it's really, really tough, but I don't think it's defined the same way that it was last year. I think some of these teams have lost an edge or are still trying to sort things out on their own or themselves in ways that they weren't last year. So that's my thoughts on that. Ty?
I have a question for Bobby real quick. Blake, I need you to hold your reaction until Bobby answers. if in your hypothetical, and just quick answer because we'll go off on a tangent if we don't. If in your hypothetical 9-3 OU, let's say 5th in the SEC, so we're assuming we win the Michigan game. So let's say Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, just for speed's sake, because LSU's at home, so that's fairly winnable. Does that team make the college football playoff?
I think they do, given the schedule.
The fifth team in the SEC.
I know that sounds insane.
A 3-loss SEC team with a non-con versus Michigan is going to make the playoffs, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, no, I Blake can, and really the only thing that would stop it is a bunch of crappy Big Ten teams. One lost Big Ten team. Our only tough game was Ohio State. We deserve to be in.
Because he knows it's true. He hates it.
No,
he knows it's
I'm
true.
doing the math really quick. Just I think y'all have gotten it wrong.
Here's the problem.
I will say, I think
those Big Ten schedules, and it's like Penn State plays.
That's going to be your issue.
It's these junky Big Ten teams getting in the way. That's really what it would be like. But on its.
But I mean, like if LSU somehow has a similar record to us, and there's some 3-way. I don't know how you ended up at 5, Bobby. But if there is a way where like we beat LSU head, but they're above, okay. So they're above us in the standing. See, I'm trying to figure out the math here too, Blake, on how he got OU at 5 and 3 losses.
Yeah.
For context, Bobby has OU at 10, and then he vibed him to 5.
Okay. The problem is, like you're probably not going to get 5 in. Just looking at the Big Ten, plus you're probably going to factor in Notre Dame, like they're going to be good, and then you have to rely on either the ACC or Big 12 only getting 1 in a piece, which the ACC has it that they could easily get into. I don't think the Big 12 gets into, but I think the ACC could.
Yeah, North Carolina.
Yeah. What I had mentally come up with, but on pure vibes, was 1 through 4 all have 2 losses.
It's possible. It's not crazy.
Wait, is it possible?
I don't.
We say these things, but don't actually go through it.
You don't know the full context of it yet. We haven't done the other teams.
We need to move on. Oklahoma's great. If you guys want to hear more about Oklahoma, we're going to start breaking down position groups next week. So link up. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So link up.
We're going to do way more, obviously a lot more OU football. Ty, who do you have at your number 8? This is what I mean by we were going to bounce around a little wonky.
Yeah,
Ty, who do you have at 8?
I gotta pull up our list, which only exists in our text. At number 8, I didn't say this in the text, but Ole Miss. I said
He is the
something
only
wrong.
person to have Ole Miss ranked at number 8.
That's-
Blake is
that's
So
a
Blake's
troll. Blake
over
is
here be like, Ole Miss is going to be so good. I really, really like their
That is-
quarterback. He's going to be better than Dart. He finishes, and yet they finish behind Auburn and OU. What?
I made me for a half second, Bobby, think maybe Ole Miss is good. And I thought, no, they're not good. Blake is just being ball not nowhere right now.
What if Ole Miss beats OU? I'm gonna have a day. Like, I'll just say
up.
this: if like
As you should.
Dude, he's hedging right
You
now.
have a day
so
anytime
hard.
OU
I'm
loses,
so tired.
Blake.
I'm not playing both sides and just pick a side.
I'm not
here.
playing both sides. I said OU's gonna suck next
Is
year.
Ole Miss good or not?
I think they're gonna be feisty. Yes.
Okay.
But that's not good.
I see is that guy
Where do you have him
who's
in the
like number
SEC?
11 on the bench, and he comes in for 3 minutes and dives on the ground like, oh, he's feisty. That doesn't mean he's any good.
Yeah, but I think as a whole, the SEC is like way more. It's like the tides have lifted everybody up. So I think like the teams across the board are all pretty good. Besides, you can't convince me Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vandy, or Missouri are going to be good. I just think they're going to get trounced.
I
I think everybody else is legit.
Yeah, let
It
Ty
does need to
explain
be
himself
said. Yeah,
for the
it-
atrocity of putting him at 8.
It does need to be said. Bobby is severely understating their schedule by just listing LSU, OU, and Georgia as their key games. Those are their top 3 games for sure. But in conference, they start going to Kentucky. That's whatever. Arkansas, which is those pitties can be feisty. LSU, which they have at home. Not saying they're going to win that one. They have an out of conference in October against Washington State again. Whatever, but they have to go to Georgia, they have to go to OU, and then they come back from that 2-week gauntlet, and then they face a very solid South Carolina team who is rising right now. That is tough. And the Citadel, Florida, Mississippi State on Thanksgiving. Didn't forget.
And anything can happen in that
That's
day.
a tough, yeah, and that's a Red River level game where truly anything can happen. So I would argue that I'm not going to say Mississippi State is ranked, but they really have they have 2 unranked like real conference games, because then they have one of the wildest rivalries in college sports in the Egg Bowl. But that's a tough schedule. Ole Miss is a scrappy team. And if I hear scrappy team, they're a talent-filled team and they have a solid coaching staff over there. I just don't see how they're not for me, my 7 through 10 is they're still mixing it up. They're not the absolute I don't want to say scum, but drudge of the SEC with Vanderbilt and Purdue and Tulane and whoever else is down there at the bottom of the SEC. But these teams are going to be scrapping for wins. And I don't see how you can have Ole Miss unranked. I understand the schedule is strong, but I feel like people are valuing, you see Florida in midway through November and you see number 15. Florida's not going to be in the top 25 when we get to November. Let's be real. And I don't know. I think people are really down on an Ole Miss team that has never been. I can't think the last time Ole Miss has been legitimately bad. They've always been fairly solid at recruiting. They've always been really good. They punch way above their weight in recruiting, and they've always been okay in games. And that's been their story forever. I understand they're going to take a step back this year from last year, but also, Blake, didn't you just say that they were going to be better than last year a second ago? So
I
this
think
is,
so.
I don't even know what we're doing.
The history is being erased on
You know,
Ole Miss
Blake is
last
just
year.
a
No,
ball
history's
not
being-
nowhere.
They finished 5th in the conference, and you have them
Let me
sliding to
finish.
11th, and they're going
Let
to be better?
Oh my god, just let me finish, Bobby. Damn it. It's not just about records, it's about how good the quality of the team is. You can have a bad record but still be a good team. Ole Miss had a horrible schedule. It was the easiest cakewalk. We knew exactly what it was last year. Their only legitimate win was Georgia, and then after that it was a whole bunch of scrubs.
It's that same schedule flipped.
Yes, it
Their-
flipped this year, so they're going to be
Their
a worse
only
record,
legitimate
but I
win
love
was
Austin
Georgia
Simmons.
is an insane statement.
Georgia wasn't that good last year. Oh my gosh, their best win after that was South Carolina, who was up and down, no consistency whatsoever.
Oh my
They
god.
won the SEC championship. They're not very good.
They weren't. Did you see them in the playoffs? They were wholly ineffective.
When
They
their
had
starting
flaws.
quarterback was out.
Yeah, they had to throw in a young
They
guy
wanted
for
their
it.
starting quarterback out. They hated Carson Beck.
Just because the fans were idiots doesn't make it true.
A lot of people were.
I don't think Carson Beck even likes playing football. So
yeah. What, Bobby? What is this erasure of history? Carson Beck was not good last year. Nobody thought he was doing great. People were calling for him to get benched even before that. Do you remember that Texas Georgia game? How bad that was? The quarterback playing that game was horrendous.
Who won that?
I'm not acting like he was a Heisman or anything, but I'm just saying, like, anytime you have to like kind of panic throw in your backup, you know. And let's be honest, one of the we can't talk about Georgia right now. We'll talk about Georgia later. But I just don't see where you're coming from on, oh yeah, they're better, but also they're going to slide 6 conference places back. Like that's
because it's about
you know what I mean?
schedules,
There's
Bobby.
a difference between shifting down the standings and plummeting off the edge of the top 10.
All right,
because
we got to move on.
Deep. This league is deep that 2 games can flip the script.
Oh my God.
I only have 2 people in my rankings, and it's 35 minutes in.
Okay, you're right. So Jameson, who do you have at number 9?
We all have 2.
Number 9, I think that this is.
I'm so sorry. I have 2. One is 10 and one is 5.
I think number 9 is probably my bolder of the takes. I've got Tennessee at 9.
I'm right there with you. I have Tennessee at 9 as well. Blake has Tennessee at 8, and Ty has good old Rocky Top at 6. Be careful, everybody. The aggregators are out and about. We don't want to see this come circulating around late October.
Before Jameson talks, I'm just going to go ahead and hop back to the lobby real quick for his explanation.
Oh no.
I don't know where he's going.
I'm not getting clipped.
No. Ty, come back. Come back. You could be under the guise of Boat and Blake. You're fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna get all this hate now.
No. I've got them the highest.
I think that people, I don't care what you say about Nico, him leaving, but I don't really am a big believer in Aguilar. And I think that him coming in the offseason with a team that already lost a lot of talent from last year, I'm just not as concerned about them, especially on the defensive end, comparative to what they were last year, I don't know if their offense can really compensate. You know, we forget, but Tennessee, we always talk about Nico. We always talk about their passing game. We talk about, Brew McCoy, all these players. But Dylan Sampson was an absolute baller and really controlled the narrative for that Tennessee team. And that's a huge loss, an absolute enormous loss for them that I think is going to show this season.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, a lot of people really haven't taken into account overall the amount of, draft eligible players that left. James Pierce Jr. on the defensive end as well. I mean, this is a team that is kind of in rebuilding mode. Obviously Nico got the headlines with how he left. Very shocking, I think definitely a huge blow to this team. But, they lost a lot of really, really solid players that made a massive impact on that college football playoff run. And I'm not buying Aguilar. Apparently there's quarterback controversy, at least at some point in camp. I don't stay up on this. It's not like I don't have like a VolQuest, account or anything. Sorry, Tennessee fans. I don't keep that much in tabs with y'all. But to me, it just feels like one of those years where you had a great season last year. And, when you have great seasons, players go on. And that just kind of happens. I'm just not buying the reload at this point. I think overall the program's in a pretty healthy place. But I think this year, I just think they take a bit of a step back. With another, pretty rough schedule with Georgia, Alabama, a resurgent Florida. To me, it's just a bit of a brutal position to be in. And yeah, it sucks for Vols fans, but that's just kind of how it is when, you get the rug pulled out from under you, at the 11th hour. So.
I think Tennessee is made better by losing Nico.
I don't know. I think who they got in quarterback is just meh. They lost you lose your running back, lose your top 3 receivers, you lose most of your offensive line, and an offense that I think was pretty ineffective through the air last year. But like they're getting this ranking from me just because they're going to be the Ole Miss of this year, like absolute schedule merchants, just getting bottom 4 of the SEC. They're going to be pretty decent still. Like they're not going to, I don't think they're going to be horrible, but I think they're going to be pretty decent. They're going to have a 9-3 record by the end of the year, but it's going to be the most fraudulent one because it's just any team they go up against that is halfway decent is just going to like punch their teeth in. There's nothing I really like about Tennessee. It's just one purely based on numbers and schedule, which I hate because I don't think they're actually any quality. But yep, like that's how they end up. They have a winning record in the SEC just because they play a whole bunch of cupcakes.
So just to clarify and get this on the record, Blake believes that evaluating a team based on their schedule is not right. Presumably, we should evaluate everyone on hypotheticals when it comes to the postseason. Is that correct, Blake?
It's not hypotheticals. Like nobody's gonna convince me Mississippi State is any good, or Arkansas, or any of those.
And Ty, who do you have at 7? Yeah, I've got Mississippi State.
No, absolutely not. In honor of Mississippi State's coach, I wouldn't tell anyone, even if I had them there, because he doesn't tell people things that he should. But that's neither here nor there.
That's funny.
Bobby, you got something for us?
So Ty, who do you have at number 9?
At number 9, I have a team that I love. This is a 9. No. This is a 9.
You always say this, and it ends up being the most random team. That
this is
also
not
of all people
random.
to speak up about that, Blake. You're not the one.
You have this team at 7, Blake. This is a team this is a loving 9, just like OU was a loving 10. I have the University of South Carolina.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Told you.
So
Yeah.
that is a Gamecock today. Blake has them at 7. Jameson has them at 6, and I have them at 8.
Yeah,
it's really fair that you'll have them lower. I think a lot of people are bumping them up. I kind of felt gross whenever I saw them at 6 because I think I'm overrating them because of their star talent. In terms of their depth, like losing guys like Tonka Hemingway and the defensive line. What's their middle linebacker that was really damn good? Debo Carter. They lost. Like Kyle Kennard and the defensive end on the other side, all SEC edge rusher. Rocket Sanders. Like there's a lot of missing pieces there that I think that they could really slip. I put him at 6 just because I think Lenore Sellers is that dude that could end up being like, if you want a dark horse Heisman pick, like I really do think he can go out there and be flashy enough in the SEC to make some noise. But I understand it's a bad argument, and it's probably one of my least favorite picks on my picks.
I had him higher in this preseason, but that defensive loss, just completely shredding that depth, to me is startling, and that's kind of why I've slowly kind of shifted my opinion of them down. I don't think they're going to be bad by any means. I think this is like a really tight 8, a situation where a winner, like one win one way, can flip them up like way higher or a bit higher here. And I think Sellers, again, I'm with you. I think he's an absolute star. But to me, that defense, it just kind of makes me a little gun shy there.
Yep, lost too much. I for one am not the biggest Lenore Sellers lover. Like I feel like you're not allowed to say that like when he looks bad, it's really bad. And I don't know. I think he's a really, really, really good quarterback, but I think there are way better quarterbacks in this conference. And yep, he's not a Superman.
I'd take him over Arch.
Now.
Ooh. I don't mind that take.
Of course, you're number one Arch hater, Bobby.
We've seen way more of Lenora Sellers than we've seen of Arch.
Yes, yeah.
I know, obviously.
He's played a year. Yes, Bobby, he's played a year.
Yeah, and he was pretty damn phenomenal last year. Like that back half of Carolina's schedule, he was phenomenal.
Which it seems like a good time to plug. Tune into the Weekend Spread during the season. Maybe by the time the season comes around, Bobby will have attained object permanence.
Do we want to move? Let's move on to our next team. So I'll go with my number.
That makes it sound really mean when I say that.
I don't know.
And then we just move on.
Well, we're
no,
45 minutes in, and we have basically half of our rankings to go. So, my number 7, I'm going to go with the fighting Texas A&M Aggies.
Wow.
I know, a little low. Jameson has them at 5. Blake has them at 6. Ty has them at 4. I honestly, I don't know. I think Elko has the program going in the right direction. I just want to see what this looks like in year 2. And I think Marcel Reed has had some inconsistent points. And I don't know. Frankly, I'm kind of weirdly neutral on him. I don't know. I feel like the lows of this A&M team were pretty low. You know, as the season went on, they lost some brutal games, and I don't know. I think that bad taste is still stuck in my mouth a little bit here. And that's kind of where I'm trending, is a year for folks to look at, you know, this version of A&M, have a little bit more tape. And that's kind of where I landed. But I'm not, this is a take I'm not overly strong on. I could see A&M definitely landing higher. It's a tight conference, but I have them at 7.
I think Blake might back me up on this as local Aggie fan, and that's his college football dynasty team. This offensive line for Texas A&M is old and good and solid with a running quarterback and a pretty decent running back in Le'Veon Moss. I think that this team can play decent defense, chip away at teams, and win tight games. And I think that's how they end up in 5. And plus we're not even talking about, like, you know, Marcel Reed's ability to throw, iffy, but like Concepcion as a wide receiver is a baller, man. Like, they've got weapons around him to make him look a little bit better. I think that this team, you know, Texas A&M, you'll see them win 17-13 games and be like, oh, cool. Well, Texas A&M got another win. And I wouldn't be surprised that's how they end up at 5.
Yeah, A&M will probably have a similar record they did last year, and the fans are going to be really mad. But I think the quality on the field is going to be significantly better. Jameson said it perfectly. It's like everything on their offense I love, except for the quarterback. I don't like Marcel.
But we don't have to worry about Wegman versus Marcel Reed the whole year. Which, like,
That's
even if
true.
Marcel Reed isn't any better, like, at least you get some consistency and continuity.
And like it does make me happy that, like, at least he has some weapon in his legs, but I don't know. It's just they have 2 pretty good or one elite receiver in Concepcion, and then I love my bussy boy in that wide receiver 2 position. And I just feel like they won't be able to get the ball to him enough. They're going to be a little one-dimensional. It's not going to look super pretty. If A&M just had a better quarterback, like, I would be a lot higher on them, because Mike Elko always seems to get the best out of the defense. They have pieces everywhere. It's just they don't have quality quarterback play, which is gonna bring them down a little bit. But I think this is gonna be a steady team. They're gonna be competitive in all their games. They're probably gonna be better than what the record says they are, but because they're A&M, they just fall at that 8-4, 9-3 area, and they just can't seem to get over that hump. But yeah, like, I think it's gonna be a really talented team. It's just gonna suck that they're only gonna be judged by the record.
Here's
Connor
the thing.
Wegman at Houston's going to be dirty.
Oh God, it's gonna be gross.
I don't hate it.
A&M is,
What do you mean you don't hate it?
It's Houston. It's a Big 12. I don't know. Like,
Connor Wegman has never put anything good for me on tape. There has never been a moment where I'm like, this guy has flashes.
I like Willie Fritz, and I don't know.
I like Willie Fritz.
I don't hate it.
I
I just don't hate it.
Sorry, I derailed this back to the Big 12.
my only point on A&M is that A&M is made better by not having Connor Wegman. You guys don't do hater picks enough. That's the 2 seasons. I tried to get analytical about it for the past couple seasons on the weekend spread. The 2 seasons that I just hater picked, I won both times. It worked with, you know, he who shall not be named. It was at Clemson and then Florida State. It has never failed. It's Connor Wegman leaving improves this team. Give me A&M at number 4. This says more about just like other people's schedules that I have them at 4. Right? You mentioned their key games in conference. Again, Notre Dame, very relevant nationally, but not relevant for this. Florida, LSU, Texas. I think A&M, I don't hate him at 5. I don't hate him at 7 where Blake has him, even though he's in an A&M shirt right now. But yeah, I think they hit their ceiling, which is 4 for me in conference.
There you go. Okay. Jameson, who's your number 8?
My number 8, which I think some people may be higher on, but aren't looking up at the depth of this team, is Florida Gators.
So Jameson has Florida at number 8. I have them
I knew
at
Blake
6.
would do this. He's always been a sleeper agent for Florida.
Ty has them at 7, and Blake has them at number 5.
What do you think about
Which is interesting,
AR-15
'cause
nowadays?
This is your college football dynasty team. And you've done
That
pretty
was-
well with them.
That was some BS what they did to him in that preseason game where the defensive end comes unblocked. And just...
Well, that is a
I
thing
know.
that you should notice as a quarterback because it's not coming from the blind side. You should be able to scheme it out. But no, do not defend the Colts on that one. But back to Florida here. So yes, you're right. I've played a lot of college football with this team, and I've noticed that
On
They
the
have-
video game.
yes, on the video game. And what I've noticed from it is this is a team that last year overperformed, and you finally can get DJ Lagway rather than having these 2 quarterbacks system. But unfortunately, I just don't think that this team on defense has enough depth. I think they have a pretty good defensive line, but I worry about their secondary and then their linebackers. And aside from, Jake Slaughter is a great center, and then Eugene Wilson and J. Michael Sturvant, I just, apart from DJ Lagway, I worry about the weapons that this Florida team has from a star power standpoint to get through this schedule, which is a freaking hard schedule to get much higher, as Blake says, up into the 5 spot. But I mean, to be honest with you, when we're talking 5 versus 8, we're arguing between like a game or so. So
I have him as the same record as my 8.
well, there you go. That's what the tiebreaker foretold.
But yeah, who y'all think Lenore Sellers is who I think DJ Lagway is. Like, I think he's just going to be a game changer. He's awesome. He's the AR-15 we were promised. This guy, I think, is just going to be a freak this year. So this is just my star quarterback, gets this team over the hump with, like, even though they have a lot of flaws. And yeah, I think Billy Napier saves his job.
Fifth in the SEC does not save Billy Napier's job, unfortunately. I don't think.
But that makes the playoffs,
their
though,
schedule to start is horrible.
No,
It is
Blake, you just did a whole tangent on how it's not possible for the
I'm
SEC.
joking. I am
How many
joking. I'm
times are
being
you gonna perjure
sarcastic.
yourself? How many times are you going to perjure yourself? Your Honor, my client was joking.
Yes, because it's obviously sarcastic that y'all were saying, oh, if anybody's at 5 in the SEC, they're gonna make it. No, they aren't.
No, that was not obviously sarcastic.
Well, I mean, it's not an automatic. It just had like this, the record has to actually match up. And, Florida's is obviously pretty tough. You got that Miami non-con. Florida State should have a pulse this year. And then obviously everything you got in the SEC with LSU, Texas, A&M, and Georgia. I just think the schedule flips for them a little bit more positively this year than it did last year. At Death Valley's pretty, that's rough, but at Miami isn't exactly, that's not a snake pit. You're going to have a lot of your home crowd, in Miami. Like
that's going to be a hard game, dude.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy, but as far as road games go, you're going to face way tougher ones in the SEC.
Yeah. Florida playing at Hard Rock is not a challenging road. Miami has as many
Miami's gonna
real
be good.
fans. Miami has as many real fans as we have subscribers.
With what quarterback, Blake? With what quarterback are they going to be
Carson
good?
Beck.
By the way, yeah,
No, don't they have
objectively
Quinn
bad,
Ewers?
right? So
I think they're still gonna be good.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think Miami's going to be good too, but I'm also a little bit higher on Carson Beck than I don't think he's great. He's not a Heisman guy, but he's not awful. I think getting Texas at the Swamp is good. A&M, getting A&M, on the road is going to be a tough one. But overall, I feel like it does relatively flip decently in their favor in some senses. I like Lagway. I think the positive momentum continues. That's why I have Florida at 6. So
I think if Florida was like 5th in the SEC and won all their non-conference games, I actually do think they would make the playoff. Their strength of schedule is so hard. It's so hard.
If they beat FSU and FSU turns out to be legit, and Miami is like 3rd in the ACC behind, like, say, FSU and Clemson, that definitely helps them.
Jameson, who do you have at number 4?
Oh, me again. Give me LSU here at number 4.
The second I press this button, everyone's going to be mad at me.
The Tigers at number 1.
LSU is number 4 on Jameson's list, number 3 on Blake's list, 3 on Ty's list, and number 1 on mine.
Let Bobby speak first on this one.
Okay. I think 1 through 4 is a complete just crapshoot. I think it's going to be really tight. I personally, I've struggled with this one for a good while, but for me, I think LSU, with another year of Garrett Nussmeier, a really solid defense under Blake Baker, and just running that back, I feel like you'll get a little bit more consistency. I feel like Brian Kelly kind of has this thing rolling a bit, and when I'm trying to pick out the differences between those 4 teams, who, look, we'll be able to rattle them off once we get to it. I just think that LSU has the makings of being a little bit more consistent, a little bit more veteran, and I think that gives them the slight edge over an Alabama, a Georgia, and a Texas. I think that's the difference to me. I think LSU just narrowly gets this one out. It is a tough schedule. I totally acknowledge that. I just think LSU is about to be really damn good this year. So
yeah, I don't
think
they have it in the trenches. Their O line and D line, I don't think is good enough to be number 1 in the SEC. They've got the star power with Nussmeier in the offensive game. I just don't know if they have it, with offensive line, defensive line.
Jameson, you're gonna be shaking in your boots when it's going into November and Bauer Sharp already has 20 touchdowns all the season stuff.
20 passing touchdowns.
I'm telling you, I think that LSU has good skill players. Obviously, I don't doubt Bauer Sharp's going to get a handful of touchdowns this year. I want to see that defensive line, the offensive line. Some team. This is a team that's been kind of nervous in the portal for the past 2 years in both of those realms.
Blake?
Yep, I really had no issue with you rating them number 1. It was like in the props pod the props pod for SEC champion and win total. I said LSU over, and the best value you're probably going to get when it comes to the SEC title is LSU, just because they are probably of the caliber of these top 4 teams, but they have the actual odds that will make you some money. It's not like Texas or Georgia where you're just basically locking up your funds for very minimal return. But yeah, this top 4 of the SEC gets super, super tight for me. I think I had LSU at 3 just because I think the tiebreaker it said was capped relative scoring margin. So the scoring margins of games, I guess, decide it, just because
I had 2, 3, and 4 were all my same record as well. So
yeah, it's just ultra tight. And kind of what Jameson said, I think that just looking at the 4 teams that are left, there's a little bit more question marks with them probably out of all the other ones. It's I know Georgia, Bama, Texas, they've kind of been the ones that have been recruiting, been putting that blue chippers. It seems like they have good depth, whereas LSU, they've been panicking in the portal. They throw out a lot of money. They have the best portal class, but from the recruiting experts, since I'm not a super big recruiting guy, has said this was probably one of the weaker portals that we've ever had. So I don't know how many difference makers are truly going to come out of it and patch some of these problems. But I love Blake Baker. I think he's a great defensive coordinator. Got him to average last year, and if he can get him to at least top 3rd, top 4th, this LSU team's gonna be lethal.
Yep. Okay, so LSU top 4. Let's move on to our next one. Ty, who do you have it? Look, okay, so we have a lot of number 4, 1 through 4s.
We have a lot of.
There's one number 5.
5 is.
There's one number 5. Anyone who's a longtime listener knows who the number 5
You know what?
is. Ty, who is it?
Let me let Blake hit it because he knows. Blake, tell me who's at number 5.
Number 5 is Alabama.
Alabama. Kalen Ball not nowhere. Is he going to
So
be?
Ty has Blake or Alabama at number 5. I have him
Look
at
at
4.
Blake.
Jameson has him at 3, and old Bowden Blake has the Crimson Tide washing up ashore at number 1 of the SEC, and come December. Ty,
Okay.
take it away.
That's absolutely.
Or actually, well, hold on.
That's
Whenever you get a
absolutely-
number 1, everyone has a different number 1.
Yeah, Blake
Dude, they
has
don't.
to-
They don't play Alabama. Alabama doesn't play Georgia at home. That is a bold take, boss.
I feel so confident in this Alabama team. Like whenever I was going through their depth chart and everything, I just feel so confident. Their defense is loaded with veterans. Their offensive line, although it was a little shaky last year, it's like you have some continuity there. I love Jalen Milroe not being the quarterback when it comes to a Alabama team. Like I know they're still deep. I think it's going to be Ty Simpson, like deep into a quarterback battle, but I think if he is just like above average, they are in a way better spot. The receivers are great, and you get Ryan Grubb coming back to call the plays for Kalen DeBoer. Like Kalen DeBoer has always I know Ty's about to go on his tirade about how much he hates him and how much he can't coach. No, this guy has won.
Brent Venables.
He has won everywhere he has gone, and
Not
so
at Alabama.
that's 1 year into it. And the quality of this team is so in a college sports landscape that is probably the top teams are lacking in veterans. Alabama brings it back. They have some of the best play callers of the game. I just think they're going to be good. They're going to be really, really good. I think they and Jameson called it, I had them as undefeated. I think they beat Georgia, in Georgia. I feel very good about this Bama team.
Yeah, I just don't see it. And I mean, I know it's tight. But to me, Ty Simpson doesn't move the needle for me yet. And the fact that we're having
but you don't need him to that much. You don't need him to
that much. Yeah, but I don't know if the SEC is in a world where, whatever the Coker kid a couple years ago for Alabama that won a national title. I don't think that it's in a place where he can win you a national title anymore. I don't think
but I'm not
just
saying
have a
better
rando.
than that. He's better than that.
Maybe. I don't know.
He's better
I
than
feel
a
like
national title. What is better than a national title?
No, the player. Listen,
I don't know, guys. To me with Alabama, I just don't. I don't know yet. I feel uncomfortable picking a team that lost to Vanderbilt and last year's Oklahoma team to win the title or to win the SEC when they have to go on the road. Georgia, you have some tough games in general. I think there will be some improvement. I just think they get hamstrung too many times along the way to really be that dominant force. I don't think they are that. And until I see otherwise, I don't know.
We're splitting hairs again. I think Alabama loses to Georgia. I think Alabama beats LSU, and there's your three-way tie. That's how I had it lined up.
Yes, they're gonna be so good this year. I feel very confident about this. When I was going through it, I was like, this team is gonna be very, very good.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
I didn't even give analysis. He just let me reveal the thing.
We waited
for said nothing.
Okay,
Ty,
I'm sorry, Ty, you got this.
Yeah. Sorry, very briefly. I think their star power carries them, but I hate to use these buzzwords, but with the portal, with NIL, with everything else going on in college football, you have to be, even at the highest levels, right? People talk about Colorado and being hype merchants and playing that social media and that hype side so well, which they do. They're the best in the game at it. And it's crazy. I absolutely love them for it. I don't think people value that side of the sport enough. I don't think Bama has the storylines right now. I think there are so many storylines out there that are the same ones that I'm peddling of it was all Nick Saban and they've now fallen off. Yes, Bama has this unbelievable legacy in college football, especially of recent times. I'm sympathetic towards Bama. I will remind you guys, it was one of the schools that I applied to and got into and very seriously considered going to. But I just don't, I think their star talent that's still there carries them to 5 in the SEC, which I think 3 through 5 for me are very toss up. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm sort of putting up brackets here, as are Tennessee and Florida here, and then the bottom 3. And then I think 1 and 2 are also very toss up. No one should be surprised what the remaining 2 schools for everyone are. But sorry, my dog went crazy. But yeah, but that's basically the argument, is that I don't think Kalen DeBoer is that bad of a coach, but I just think you have to be riding that wave like you're surfing, right? You have to be in the sweet spot there, or you're not going to hit that wave. And if you're just a little bit behind in college football right now, even if it's just on the storyline, on the social media, on the the talking heads, it will affect your recruiting. It will affect people hitting the portal, and I think we start to see some crumbles in the pillars at Bama right now.
Okay, I think that was really good analysis, honestly. Blake, who do you have at number 4?
Number 4, I have the Texas Longhorns.
All right. Old Boomer Blake has Texas at 4, the lowest of all of us on the list. I have him at 3, Ty has him at 2, and Jameson has him at number 1. Jameson, why do you think this is going to be another number 1 season for the Longhorns?
Hit it with me, Jameson.
It's a defensive thing. Oh, yes, Blake gets the laser beams whenever he throws it up. I forgot about that. It's really a defensive thing for me. I think the mixture of Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill are 2 of the best defenders in college football. Anthony Hill, probably the best defender in college football. Like,
never heard either of those names.
Well, do some research, buddy. You need to do some research, because they are really top notch, and they were young last year and still really damn good. And they return, and like Anthony Hill is like special at that middle linebacker position. As a team going against them in the run game, I would really, really worry about their front 7. They've got really good defense, and when it comes down to concerns for it, I can see like, hey, are you really that big believer in Arch Manning? Is he going to be that guy that everyone thinks he is? Maybe, maybe not. But does he have the offensive line to protect him? I think that's a scenario where you can see Texas going to 4, like Blake, because the offensive line just doesn't have it like they did last year. They lost a lot of guys with a lot of reps under their belt, and they don't have that this year. But thank God Arch is a little bit mobile to where he can give relief to that Texas offensive line. But I think the defense that Texas puts out on the field is just second to none. And I think defense really, truly does win championships.
Okay, Nico. No, I'm kidding. But defense is, yeah.
It's a really biased. I hate to make a decision from 2 guys, but I think I really believe in those 2 guys. I think they're absolutely special. And I understand there's other guys on that, like Texas safety that's been there for a long time that everyone makes fun of. What's his name? Like Mava or something like that. I can't think of it. Like, but they've got like guys, and they've got like Muhammad, who's a really damn good quarterback. Yeah, Taft, that's what it is. Taft, like he's really good. Like Muhammad is really good cornerback as well for them. They got like a lot of talent on that team.
Yeah, I think, to me, Texas did. I mean, they had a good year last year, without a doubt. That was a solid team. But I felt like I was a crazy person the entire season, screaming that the schedule helped them out as much as it did, and that they just kind of cakewalked through some games, and that they'd get exposed. And they kind of never really. I mean, when they ran into Georgia, they did not look great. Obviously, Ohio State, that was a damn good football game. Which, again, if you want to talk about the college football playoff being bad, look at that game, and you'll see otherwise. It could lead to some good games. But for me, the Longhorns, I feel like the schedule flips a little bit to make it a bit tougher. I don't think you can BS around like you did against Vanderbilt and Arkansas on the road in the swamp. You can't do that at Sanford Stadium against Georgia. And I think to me, that's where you see them trip up a couple more times this season.
Wait, at Arkansas?
No.
Okay.
They looked not great against Arkansas last year.
Okay.
What I'm saying is when they played on the road, they kind of were lukewarm. And now they're playing in tougher environments. The swamp, Georgia, totally different from what they faced in year one. And to me, I think that flip of having to play more road games than you played home games because of the unique OU Texas 3-4 split. I think the schedule does enough with a relatively young, a pretty young quarterback in Arch Manning, and a team that I don't think was as good as it was. Like, I don't think last year's team was as good as people said it was. I feel like they crumbled in big moments, and I feel like they were too laissez-faire on the road. I kind of think that continues on next year. I'm also very much a biased OU fan, but again, I think tied at the top and ending up at third, not exactly the worst season in the world for the Longhorns. Blake, why do you have them where you have them?
It's a three-way tie for second, and they just lose out on the tiebreakers. Like, I think this team's gonna be fantastic. It's like, just because the graphic has them at 4, I don't think they're I think they're the same caliber as Bama, LSU, Georgia. I think it's just losing some of the critical games. And yeah, I really have nothing else to offer that hasn't been said. I think Bobby and Jameson bring up both great points about how the good things and the bad things about this team, because I do think they did lose a good amount from last year, but they're also been recruiting like hell, and they have probably one of the best depths in the country. So
yeah, Texas, I think, all bits aside, I think they take a step forward in the quarterback room, just barely. I think it'll be more pronounced next year. Obviously, the whole roster is moving around. I have them at number 2, which for me means they go to the SEC championship. I think it's a touchdown game. So I would not I'm not going to debate at all Texas winning the SEC. Bobby and Blake don't necessarily agree with, but I also understand I'm heavily biased. Really, my biggest thing on Texas is a lot of people have, I don't want to say a lot of people. I've seen multiple, as in 3 different commentators and talking heads and everything else, talk about Texas in this Ohio State game and how amazing that is on the schedule, and how the college football playoff has made it where you could and should schedule games like this, especially early in the season, because you have that eye test and you can play that quality win of an out of conference opponent. This game was scheduled in 2012 when the BCS was around. And I don't recall if we knew we were moving away from the BCS in 2012, but I am not for a 12-team college football playoff. Should be 16 or should be less. Should be the BCS, but neither here nor there. But do not give the CFP credit for that Ohio State game. But yeah, Texas has, I think what you're going to get out of Texas more than anyone else in the SEC. I would not be surprised if they won the conference. I wouldn't be surprised if they won the national championship. But for me, I just have to bet on the most likely thing and the funniest possible thing, and that's that nothing ever changes. So
nothing ever changes. Texas finishes second.
I think if you gave me Texas, Alabama, and Georgia, and you say which team has the best chance of losing a game they're not supposed to, it's Texas.
Yeah. Well, are you implying that they should win Red River?
Yeah, I think that's very clear. I think Texas should be, I don't know if there's odds out right now, but Texas should be a touchdown favorite for OU.
I think at one point when it first opened, they were 9.5 point favorites.
I was going to say it would be amazing for OU. It'd be an amazing vote of confidence if we were a 1 touchdown dog in Red River. To be honest,
by the way, I kind of like the OU odds on that. But
oh no! We got Luffy and Bobby early.
I'm telling you, that defense scares the shit out of me versus Oklahoma's offensive line. Oh my god!
Hey, Mateer's a gambling guy. He's going to take those shots.
Last year was a disaster, but the offense couldn't do hardly anything. It was
Yeah, but I don't know if that suspension comes down, we might be seeing Michael Hawkins part 2 in Red
Well, it
River,
won't.
So
It won't because it's just a
Yeah.
Venmo. Just a Venmo.
just
It's just a
he's a real
financial paper
jokester,
trail.
you know.
It's just
Trust me. Look, we can look at all of our Venmos. We won't, but
But
yeah.
there's ones that are obvious jokes.
I don't use Venmo. Just to
Right.
be clear, just in
Yeah.
case the feds are watching. As a famous rapper once said, you know the feds are watching, fella, what money?
So Ty, who do you have at number 1?
At number 1, I got them dogs.
All
Look,
right,
here's the
number
thing.
1, the
Here's-
Georgia Bulldogs for Ty, 2 for the rest of us.
Here's the thing. You guys think arrests have gone down for the Georgia Bulldogs. The GSP is famous as being one of the strictest highway patrols in the nation. Georgia is known to be one of the most ticketing states in this union. Georgia is also the only state of the union that has been admitted to the United States 3 times. Fun fact. We're not going to get into the technicalities of how that occurred.
Please,
But-
God, no.
I need a
You guys
podcast just
think-
of that.
You guys think that Kirby
Oh.
has gotten this team into shape and that they're not whipping their Lambos and whatever
Who is
else?
saying this? Who is
No,
saying
no.
this?
No, arrests
Kirby
have
to
gone
his
down.
team.
Arrests have gone down. Arrests have gone down. But really, what's occurred is Georgia has just determined that they also need to bag out GSP and Athens police and UGA police. And to be clear, as the podcast attorney has advised me, we're not at all implying that any law enforcement in the state of Georgia, whether it's state or local or university, is in fact corrupt. I'm just saying, let's be honest. But I think Georgia runs it back. I think, do they win the national championship? Absolutely not. But do they win the SEC? To me, that is the most likely thing. Yes, they took a step back last year, but people could have said the same stuff about the Crimson Tide when they lost to OU in the Sugar Bowl, right? Like, oh, Nick Saban's done, the dynasty, fake, not real. You rode that out. Georgia, I think, has the most consistency, and they have, through a bunch of like negative storylines, I'm running off vibes at this point, right? And they have maintained just keeping quiet, keeping those storylines down, right? Those articles hit, everyone has their laugh about them, about Georgia doesn't, whatever, like this guy's kicked off the team, this guy's speeding, whatever. They stay focused on producing that product that wins football games. And to me, I think that wins them the SEC.
Yeah, I think Georgia's schedule lines out pretty favorable. And when you look at those key dates on YouTube, you see Alabama, you see Texas, both of those in Athens at Sanford Stadium. Ignore the Ole Miss one. I forgot to delete that from last year.
Bobby,
you do
with
have to
his Ole
go
Miss propaganda.
Or ignore the old. Yeah. Get the Ole Miss one out of there. You do have to go to Tennessee. Got to go to Knoxville, but that's a situation they have really thrived in. They kind of own Neyland Stadium at this point. The rest of them are cake. I've already said what I think about Auburn.
Cake versus Florida, huh?
Neutral site, cake or neutral site, Jacksonville. And then you got a neutral site against Georgia Tech, which does not really play into this due to the whole non-conference thing.
I do like Georgia Tech this year.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, Brett, and not only is it a neutral site, it's in Atlanta. That's going to be a 50-50, actually significantly more in favor of the Dogs for that one. So I think it shakes out a lot easier for Georgia. I thought last year, tough spot at Alabama, at Texas. You ended up winning at Texas, and obviously things look a little different if they don't get that one out. But to me, I think that's more of what I'm feeling more than the Gunnar Stockton led Dogs. I think this is a situation where they don't have the depth that they used to, like most titans of college football, just because you kind of proliferate, in this portal era. And I'm not big on Gunnar Stockton, but I think the schedule lines up for them to take advantage and some of those flaws to not really show themselves until the SEC championship, the college football playoff, etc. So that's my thoughts on Georgia. I think the core is still good. They'll still have a solid defense. Kirby always puts out a good team, but ultimately, to me, I think that their deficiencies are going to be kind of hidden by not having to go on the road in really tough spots.
Yeah, I agree with you. I honestly had them, like when my first go through, I had them at 1. And then I was like, I don't know. I still think Texas can beat them. That was the whole flip. I think the winner of Texas, Georgia is your SEC champion. And what it comes down to is, Gunnar Stockton, the way he's going to be able to affect his play in big games. And I understand that the way that he looked last season is going to leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. But now with like an off season where he's the guy coming into the season, I think he is talented enough and he can lean on guys like an Oscar Delp in the tight end and then like a gadget guy and like Zachariah Branch. That's like your two best friends as a quarterback. It's like a quick slot player, wide receiver, and a really great tight end. And so for a quarterback that might not have it at all, having those two as your like really strong targets, I think should help him this season.
Yeah, Georgia kind of went back to their old format where it's like you don't need the best out of the quarterback play, but as long as you have elite weapons that can get open, you just got to make those simple throws. And I think like that's what made Stetson Bennett so great, was because he had so many weapons and was able to just find the open guy. And although I was ribbing hard on on Georgia's quarterback earlier, like I think they just seem inevitable at this point. Like not in a Bama way, because I just think those Bama teams are so elite. But like last year, I thought this Georgia team was very heavily flawed, and they won the SEC championship. And they had a lot of question marks last year and still did well. And so they're going to kind of be, I feel like they're not, I don't ever think in this era of college football will a team ever reach kind of like that mid 2010s Bama level. But I think we're going to see consistency out of them, that they're probably always going to be in the top 3 or 4 and just consistently there, never going away. And so there are a lot of question marks with this team, but a team that recruits well, that has maybe not depth per se, but has been loaded up with blue chip prospects that can fill those. So I think Georgia is just, they're too consistent. They're too well coached that they're probably going to be in Atlanta. They're going to win one of those Texas or Alabama games, not both. But
I wish we were doing a CFP preview pod, because then I'd have like Texas. I'd have like Jameson's rankings. See if anyone would catch that I have a completely different outcome for the SEC. But yeah,
my two.
No, I was just going to say, in short, I don't. After listening to everyone's explanations of Georgia, I don't think, and this is what we were talking about at the start of the pod, is it's so wide open. I went with their ceiling. I don't hate anyone's outcome for Georgia. We thought this would be kind of contentious, but really it's kind of everyone went with a different sort of outcome that we all kind of agree with as possible. So it's kind of funny.
It's like everyone agrees that it's going to be a really weird season. And you can't be too mad, except for Auburn.
Yeah.
And,
well, except for like Vandy.
I know. It's always the hottest debates are always like 7, 8, 9, and 10. Like in this, when like they're separated by a game, like deeply flawed teams. Those are the ones we feel the most.
Yeah. Putting OU last. Putting OU last on a primarily OU podcast.
OU is not. There's more than 10 teams in the SEC. Let's just, for the record,
last on the screens.
I will not allow this slander that I put OU last. I think we fire our coach this year. Hopefully, fingers crossed. No, I'm not trying to jinx anything. I don't have wood around me. I think the doors would. Knock on wood.
To tell you how weird this college football year is going to be, I think my top 2 teams in the nation right now in my head are Penn State and Alabama. So that kind of shows you.
Okay. Get this man off the pod.
We've already done the Penn State stuff. I love Penn State. Penn State's going to be fantastic this year.
Penn State's always really great on paper, and then
I know, and
then it starts.
I'm probably more likely I'm going to get burned by this, but I love this Penn State team this year. shoving all my chips in the middle.
Yeah, we're talking about Penn State on the SEC preview, but boys, week 0. Next week on the weekend spread, we are starting this thing off. Hard to believe it's here. It's been a long time coming, but very, very, very excited to start another journey of picking ball games with all y'all. So yeah, super pumped. So
week 0's tasty. It's a tasty little slate.
That Farmageddon, ranked matchup on week 0, first time in ever.
Remind me,
Ireland,
we do
right?
wild cards.
I haven't
Our
figured
wild
out how
card
I'm
is the
gonna
win
do.
total. Win total.
Yeah,
Our favorite win
right.
total.
That's
for
what
the
we
year.
did last year.
Oh, that's right. But I wanted to do something wild.
What
Do
did
we
you
even
want
have
to do?
enough? Are we
Would
gonna
you-
have Sam Houston State versus Western Kentucky?
I think
I
we
mean,
gotta.
Should we?
Yes,
It's a
full
It's a
slate.
D1 game. It's a D1 game.
Yes.
There's a line for it. We got to put it on there.
Stanford's
I think,
a dog
Western
right now.
Kentucky,
to Hawaii.
10 points.
Yeah, we have a chance to pick Toppy. We could pick Toppy on the main pod. Nobody gets to do it. Like, it's not a conference championship. It's not a wild card pick. It's on the main pod. We got to go
Yeah.
with it.
I get it. I'm really excited to talk about my opinion of Fresno State.
No more Mikey Keene, Jameson. No more.
Mikey Keene is essentially disappeared from Michigan practice recently.
They're
You
paying
think
Bryce
so?
Underwood too much to not ride the bench. Like, yeah,
you got to
right.
just start him. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to be fun. We're going to do that on the weekend spread. And then for OU listeners, we're going to break down position groups. I know a lot of OU podcasts are doing that right now, but it's fun. And honestly, as an OU fan, I'm going to listen to all of them. So you should do that too and listen to ours.
Yeah. It's maybe about time that we talk about OU football. The main pod, but it happens. It happens. Yeah, and if you're a Thunder fan, we'll be talking about the NBA schedule tomorrow, so that'll be fun
Wait,
too.
what?
So what?
That-
What do you mean?
Well, the
Oh, that
schedule
dropped
Not you.
this early?
Just me and
Yeah.
Bobby.
Oh, not you,
God.
Ty. It's okay. Y'all are good.
No, I know.
No,
I know.
I knew that, but I was just like, I just feel like this is so early. I'm like,
Yeah.
NBA is. I'm just still on championship mindset. It's not
Yeah.
even hitting me that the
Good.
regular season
Keep
is
it.
even
Yeah.
close to coming out.
I mean, we're a little over 2 months away from opening night.
God, it really should be
That's
Christmas.
crazy.
Damn it! it
They
should
play
be
too
Christmas.
many games. They
Yeah,
play too
we're
many
we're
games.
under we're under 2 months away from preseason. I think in preseason you have the Thunder playing the Mavericks at Dickies Arena
My God, I love
Like,
October.
Oh, yeah.
on like October 6th.
October's
Yeah.
the best month of the year, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice.
Oh.
It's gonna be nice. But look,
Can y'all talk about on the pod tomorrow how ESPN already killed Inside the NBA before it even started?
oh, maybe. But yeah, check that out on Morning Thunder. We'll put the link in here just because love myself a little shameless plug. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time, everybody, on week 0. Can't wait. Have a good one, everyone, and good luck.